Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of Babergh Planning Committee. I'm Councillor Simon Dowling, and I'll be chairing today's meeting. This meeting will be broadcast on our YouTube channel and will be capable of repeated viewing. The whole meeting will be recorded except where there are confidential or exempt items. If any member of the public attending the meeting objects to being filmed, please advise us immediately and we'll ensure that you're not included in the filming. Members of the public and the press may record, film, photograph or broadcast this meeting when the public and the press are not lawfully excluded. If you intend to do so, please inform the committee clerk. May I please request that mobile phones are on silent or switched off, and that your laptop speakers are switched to silent. I'll pause a moment for you to check that. Okay, if you hear the fire alarm, please leave the building immediately via a fire exit and make your way to the assembly point at Ipswich Town Football Ground. Don't go through the atrium. Introductions. With us today, we have Area Planning Manager Gemma Walker, our Legal Advisor Ian Dupre, our Case Officers for today's items Adam Lockwood and Greg Monaghan, a special guest, Suffolk County Council Highways Technical Manager Sam Harvey, and our Governance Officer and clerking the meeting Claire Philpott. Also attending as a ward member for one of the items is Councillor John Ward. So, moving on to the agenda. Item 1, apologies for absence and substitutions, please.
Thank you, Chair. We have apologies from Councillor Tim Register and Councillor Isabel Rees.
Thank you very much. Item 2, to receive declarations of disclosable pecuniary interests and other registrable and non-registrable interests by members relating to today's items. Are there any, please? That's a no. Thank you. Number 3, declarations of lobbying. Sorry, right, just a second. Sorry, who do we need? Councillor Malvisi, right.
Oh, I'm now lit. Okay, I'm on. I excused myself and declared an interest in the visit to the former Toys R Us, and therefore do I abstain from voting on the minutes because I wasn't there, and I can't really partake in any of that decision making for reasons I already declared.
Okay, were you present at the meeting which decided that application?
No.
Then you can't vote on the minutes because you weren't there.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yes.
Members have a legal right to vote, but it is a local government convention that you don't if you weren't there. That you're quite right. So this is clear.
Great. I think that's clear. Okay. Item 3, declarations of lobbying. Now, I do know that some of us, not all of us, have been lobbied by Margaret White. So if you have been lobbied by Margaret White, can you please indicate? Thank you. Councillor Beer, I think your name was on the address list for the email. Did you? I haven't seen it. Right, okay. Thank you very much. Councillor Carruthers, I think your name was on the email. Did you see that email? No? Okay. Sorry. Did you get the people who've put their hands up? Yeah. Okay. Any other lobbying on any item in today's agenda to declare, please? Okay, good. Thank you. Item 4, declarations of personal site visits to the sites in question today. Any to declare, please? No. Okay, thank you. Okay. Councillor Grandon, sorry to grab you as soon as you've arrived. I think you missed the item where we declare pecuniary and other registrable interests relating to today's items. Do you have any, please? Thank you. That was easy. No, don't worry. I think we're all in that boat, so well done for getting here. Right, item 5, confirmation of the minutes of the meeting held on the 17th of December 2025. Are there any points regarding accuracy of the minutes, please? No, can't see any, which is good. So could I have a proposer to accept those minutes, please? Councillor Osborne, thank you, and a seconder, Councillor Davis, thank you. So we have a vote on the minutes of that meeting.
Thank you, Chair. Members, that vote is in progress. Councillor Beer, can I take your vote? Thank you. And Councillor Grandon, would you like me to take yours? Thank you. Thank you, members. That's 6 votes for and 2 abstentions. That's carried.
Lovely. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, item 6, to receive notification of petitions in accordance with the Council's petition scheme.
None received, Chair.
Super, thank you. Number 7, any applications for site inspections?
None received.
None received. Okay, thank you very much. Which brings us to the first main item, item 8. 8A, this is application DC 25-05618, the ABC preschool at, sorry, it says Country Primary School, is that right? At the County Primary School, Stratford St Mary, in near Colchester. I'll now invite the case officer, Adam Lockwood, to introduce the application to the committee.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. Today we have an application for the demolition of the existing single-storey modular preschool building and construction of a replacement preschool in the grounds of the Stratford St Mary Primary School. The uses aren't connected, however, they do sort of share the same similar site. The purpose of this presentation is to accompany the committee report, which you will already have, provide a springboard for your discussion. We have brought this to committee today because it has been considered controversial by our Chief Planning Officer due to the number of objections received. In the table papers, which I hope you've received, there is an amendment to my report. I previously noted that the permission had expired. However, I've been made aware that there is still a valid permission from Suffolk County until the 31st of December 2027, and therefore, theoretically, the preschool could reopen tomorrow without the need for planning permission in the current building. The main planning issues for this application, so under delegated authority, I previously refused permission on highways grounds and noise impact. In all other regards, I considered the application was acceptable. Under this application, and with newly submitted information, the Council's Environmental Health Team and Suffolk County Council Highways are satisfied with these and their objections have been overcome. Therefore, I invite you to assess these matters accordingly. On the screen now, you will see the defined site location plan. So we have I have some labels here for you. So we have the preschool at the top, the primary school to the south, and we have a shared access out to Strickmere, which is a designated highway, which is under Suffolk County Council ownership, and notice has been served on them. This is a quick aerial image of the site. And here we have the constraints. So we have the conservation area to the green hatching to the south and to the east. We have a few tree preservation orders to the south, but none within the site, along with a few grade 2 listed buildings to the south in the conservation area. We have a public right-of-way to the east and just peeking into at the north. Flood zone 2 and 3 are present with the area, and flood zone 2 somewhat overlaps the site, mainly the access and minimally on the building. We are within the Stratford St Mary settlement boundary, and the whole site is within the national landscape. However, I haven't mapped this because it will just turn the whole thing green and make everything else illegible. Here we have an image taken from the current application. So I revisited the site for this application in January. This is a view of the entrance. The other site photos were taken from October, which was during the October half term, and due to the nature of the site, this was, a much more acceptable time to visit. This is an image taken online, just showing you a wider context of Strickmere. This is looking east along the highway. The entrance is to the right-hand side there, just behind the silver car. And then we have a view west. The road somewhat curves around, and then the entrance is to the left. This is the current building taken in October 2025, just sort of modular temporary teaching block. Here we have another view of the building. You can see the playing field just through the gate behind it. And then this is the primary school just south of the preschool. A wider context view for you. So we have a sort of an overgrown grassed area forward of it and a decked area which is covered. This is the relationship north of the preschool to number 29 Strickmere. And another context view for you, that is again number 29. And we have a view back. Would you like me to stop share just for Councillor Babergh? Okay. Okay. We have a view back towards the entrance just to look at, so that's the entrance onto Strickmere. You've got number 31 in the background there. Oh, skipped one. And then we've got a closer view of the boundary with number 31. This is the access onto the highway. This is the current site plan of the preschool. We are 1.9 metres from the boundary of number 29. I've taken that to the building itself, not the covered decked area. And then we have the proposed site plan of the new building, which is 1.8 metres from the boundary, so we're minimally closer. The decking area is to be enclosed and sort of absorbed into the building. We are in a vaguely same position, and part of the grass area is to be removed to facilitate the siting of some car parking spaces. And then we have the elevations of the building. The main change here is that the existing building has a flat roof on it. This is to have a hipped roof on it. Minimally taller in height, however, the overall height against the boundary is to be reduced to accommodate for the eaves height. Then I've quickly summarised the representations. So overall we received 51 representations of objection. I've cascaded these down into 30 as there were some repeated objections from the same person, but all contents have been counted. And they're just my officer comments below. So the preschool is currently served by 3 parking spaces, and this is to be increased to 8. This is below Suffolk Guidance Park in 2023, but given the sustainable location, we have considered this to be sufficient and allow for a departure. Residents have noted that there will be an increased traffic and highways issues. We've noted no impact or negligible impact, and we don't think there would be a severe impact. There is, in the transport statement, which is included in my committee report, between 2015 and 2024, there was 3 slight collisions, which are defined as injuries not requiring hospital, or if they do, the effects quickly subside. 2 of these collisions were on the A12 itself, and 1 of them was on the surrounding roads. So none on Strickmere itself. Again, health and safety in a similar vein to the increased traffic and highways issues. Inadequate access. The access is to remain unchanged as what currently serves the existing preschool and primary school. Impact from noise. A noise impact assessment has been provided, overcoming the objection previously raised by the Council's Environmental Health team. Inadequate public transport. Within my committee report, I've given you a breakdown of the bus times and routes that run through Stratford St Mary, and we've considered this to be a sustainable location. Application is lacking information. I consider that an adequate level of information has been provided to allow for the determination today. A strain on existing community facilities. I would not consider there would be a strain created. If anything, it would allow for an expansion of the current offerings of preschool places. Overdevelopment. The development is minimally larger than the existing building on site. More open space needed. The site is obviously largely constrained by the surrounding development, so this is not an opportunity. And then we also received 3 representations of support, including proximity of existing facilities, expansion of free childcare, reduction in traffic, community benefit. There were other points raised by neighbours, however these are just summarised as ones that were raised 10 or more times. So my recommendation would be to grant planning permission subject to condition.
Okay, thank you very much, Adam. Very clear and detailed, and a very good picture. I'm sorry for misspeaking the name of the primary school. It is Country Primary School. Okay, questions from members on details in the officer's report, please. Councillor Beer, Councillor Grandon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could I ask the officer, and he may have to consult with the highways officer, why is it that we are not adhering to the Suffolk County Council's guidance of parking? Because this is below the amount that they recommended.
Thank you, Councillor. The guidance is national guidance that Suffolk County Council adheres to. The guidance also says that when there is a creche or a preschool near a school, you can have, you need to include the parking within there. As it is only 2 less, if they have a full amount of pupils or students at the school, which is 40, then they have to have 10. If they do not, because that's what the guidance says, it's one car parking space per 4 pupils, students. There is no parking for any parents. It is only purely for staff. Also, in the application, it said that there's equivalent of 8 full-time staff. So we felt that 8 parking spaces for 8 full-time staff and it only being 2 less was not severe.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Grandon.
Thank you. Mine's also a highways or parking issue. Can you tell me what the position is regarding drop-off and pick-up time? How would the parents do that? Where would they go? I realise that there's no parking spaces as such for them to park, but obviously they'd be dropping off and picking up and would have to leave the car to take their young children into the facility. So could you tell me how that would work, please?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. The preschool itself is putting forward for a travel plan to encourage sustainable access. So we've got walking, cycling, and also, as I said, there's the public transport. We know that the public transport won't necessarily be there for drop-off and pick-up times, but they're not. I've spoken to our Suffolk County Council's education team, and they know that drop-offs and pick-ups aren't necessarily always at the same time as the school. So it is, parents do, we know that they park on street near and in the surrounding area and walk their child to the school. But as a county council, we try and promote as much as possible sustainable modes of transport.
Okay, Councillor Grandon again.
May I just clarify that, please? Thank you. So do you mean they'll park in one of the residential streets nearby and then walk their child from there? Is that?
Yeah, well, I presume that's what they did before when they were open. We know that's what happens outside every school within the nationally.
Yeah.
So, yes, they will be parking in there, but it's short-term parking.
Yes, so they can do that. There's no restrictions.
There are no parking restrictions within Stratford St Mary. The only area that's got any parking restrictions is down by the pub.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions from members, please? Councillor Davis?
Yeah, thank you. It's a question about slightly more sustainable travel. Could you highlight how people walk to school at the moment? And I'd be interested to know what percentage of children currently walk to school. Because you could logically say the same percentage would walk with the advent of the new school.
Sorry, Councillor, I'm afraid I don't have that information on because I didn't look at the travel plan for the current primary school.
Could we just pull up like a Google map and see the...
But in the village there are footways all the way around the village, so there is a safe, sustainable route for pedestrians to be able to get to the school.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think in general terms we'd have to say that the primary school and its arrangements fall outside the scope of this particular application because it's for the nursery. But I take your point about habit. I think it would be the case that some parents bringing children to the primary school will also bring children to the nursery.
Okay. I
want to come back? Yeah.
I have a follow-up as well. I looked at the objections and they were very repetitive. All of them have concerns about the congestion in the surrounding roads. What will be done about that?
Yeah. Actually, I've been looking at our customer reports. Suffolk County Councils, we have whenever there's any customer reports that come into Suffolk County Council, it comes onto our database. We have no record on Strickmere any complaints about parking for the school. No reports at all. So we as a county council, we could promote putting double yellow lines around the area, but this obviously has a effect on the residents because that means that they can't park in the road as well. It's a case of if there is a requirement and there's been enough accidents and we've had sufficient customer complaints come in, we would consider a weighting restriction in the area. But at the moment, we do not have that information or the reports in.
Okay, thank you very much.
I just have one more.
Is it on the same point?
No.
Can you wait for someone else to have a go then? Is that all right? And I'll come back to you, I promise. Okay, Councillor Beer is up next.
Thank you for letting me come back again. It was following on from my colleagues' comments regarding the local park and your response to that. If the local county councillor of the area had enough complaints from the locals, they could recommend yellow lines in that area. And you're well aware of the sort that we put up, and I've done it in Great Cornard just recently, and it's very effective. The problem is that then just moves it on. So what you're actually saying, and that's what I want you to clarify, is that at the moment they can park there and you don't see a problem. But I'm quite convinced that once you have parents parking cars there, you will have this problem. You'll then put in yellow lines, and then where are you going to make them go?
Okay, Councillor Beer, was that a question?
Well, that was the question. What will you do if they then put in yellow lines? Which will say there isn't a problem there at the moment.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be recommending any weighting restrictions in the area because, as you say, a county councillor can use their local funds to be able to put a traffic regulation order in, and you are correct that it just moves the problem along the road. It could be that they start parking in places that are on junctions or across people's accesses, which means it's obstruction and it's not parking in the right place. At the moment, as I said, we haven't received any customer complaints about parking on Strickmere. It isn't considered a problem at present.
Quickly follow
Okay,
on.
yes, go on.
Could you not then increase the amount of park and those extra 2 spaces would help?
At the moment, I don't believe that they have enough room because obviously they have to have a certain amount of play area. They've got, their footprint isn't enough room to put in. Their previous application didn't have enough parking spaces, so we recommended refusal. They didn't also have parking for cycling. Now they have improved the allocation for parking and for cycling, and in our professional opinion is not severe. This is if all the children are full at 40. So if there is 40 children going in there, that's when you need the 10 spaces. So at the moment, 8, as I said before, we deem appropriate or adequate.
Okay, thank you. I think it's just worth clarifying, I think, that the parking spaces proposed in the application are only for staff members. There is not now, nor will there be in the future, parking space for parents and visitors. Okay? Right, next up, Councillor Wyman.
Thank you, Chair. Oops, yeah. Just a quick point again to Sam on obviously parking is quite a big issue for the whole thing, particularly customer parking. There was previously an operation there, I guess closed a year or 2 or 3 years ago. Do we have any data or have we recognised the feedback we've had from previous operations there in relation to parking, and also cumulative impact from the school and the preschool? Have we taken that into account in our considerations?
To a degree that, as I said, that we've had no complaints come in previous. Our complaints go back to 2015, so when the preschool was open. So as there's no data for us to be able to use to follow that up, I would say that it's no change. The school, as my colleague says, is that the school could open tomorrow, not a problem, but we wouldn't deem that it is an impact now because they've got an application now.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Carruthers.
Thank you, Chair. Would the County Council consider a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit along the road there, Strickland, whatever it's called, to increase safety? Could that be something that could be considered, please?
Yeah, as you know, most schools have 20's plenty rather than 20 mile an hour. 20's plenty. That doesn't need a traffic regulation order. I know that there's a traffic safety scheme there, but not a zone. So I do believe from the last time I was there, that there was a 20's plenty there. So it's a school safety scheme. Yes, there is one. Yes, there is one on Google. But, so that is considered sufficient for schools. If there is a requirement for a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, that can be considered, but there would have to be funding for that. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Malvisi, your turn.
Thank you, Chair. In the application, it says that the building is to be demolished, but it's not currently being used. So does that mean if it's replaced, numbers at school are going to increase, therefore there's going to be more vehicles? Sorry, I'm croaky.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, you are correct. The current building is to be demolished. I would presume that I believe the original teaching block was in connection with the primary school, so it was probably never sort of a long-term hope to be used. But yeah, they are...
It doesn't say that in the application. Does it? Or have I missed it?
So can you just clarify what it is you're asking, please?
If the building is not being used, where's the need to have a new one?
Okay.
And if the new one is to increase numbers attending the school, numbers attending the school will, by definition, increase the number of vehicles. So I do not see that in the application. So if you could draw my attention to it, I'd appreciate it.
Sorry, yeah, Councillor, thank you. I now understand your question. So the preschool and the school are to be separate uses, and they're not interconnected. They're in sort of the same locality, and they serve the same access, but the preschool is to be a private sort of business, We have heard from colleagues in Suffolk County Council, Children and Young People Services, and our council's own communities team that there is a need in the area. There is sort of I believe, a district-wide need for more preschool places. Hence why we are supportive of this type of development.
Okay, is that clear?
Yes, we have to wait for things to happen before we change things to make it better.
Not quite sure I follow that, but what this application is doing is providing nursery places that were not previously provided. That's the use of the building. So can you put your mic on? Actually, can we save that for debate? Because this is questions, all right? If you've got a view on the application, we'll hear it in debate. Okay, right, back to Councillor Davis next, and then Councillor Grandin.
Thank you. It's around landscaping. I note that the two sides of the existing boundary are going to be retained and there'll be hedging. And the other sides will have that very tight fencing that makes you look like it's in a prison. But I was thinking there's still an opportunity. I know biodiversity net gain is not technically applicable here, but if you're digging up those boundaries in order to put some fencing in, could we not add in just a single line of hedging as well, just to get some BNG out of it?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Yeah, you are correct. Two of the boundaries are to be retained, and the other is to have the typical school fencing, that prioritises security. I take your point on board, and I don't see why we can ask for something like a landscaping scheme to be conditioned to secure that.
I have one more question, but shall I save it?
If it's not about the same point, then can you save it? Because we'll go round and then come back to another point, if you see what I mean, yes. Again, as a former teacher, I just point out every single school in the country has that security fencing. It's a requirement, and you can't escape that. Okay? Yes, that's the point. Yeah. Okay, Councillor Grandin next, then Councillor Carruthers.
Thank you. My question may have been answered 2 questions ago, but perhaps you could clarify it more clearly for me, please. If the school was closed, please can you tell me first why that building and the school was closed? And secondly, is there definitely, with populations decreasing and child numbers decreasing, if it closed then, and obviously I'm not sure the reason, is there a definite need? I know the paper says there's a need, but I don't know how that's been worked out. So please could you tell me about those 2 points, please?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. So as far as the previous need, I understand that closed in 2022. The exact reasons why that closed, I'm not aware of, but I am led to believe that this is now a different applicant. So business need, I suppose, shifted away from the area. That would just be my surmising. As far as the decreasing population, all I'm going off is what I've heard back from my technical consultees, which is that there is a need in the area. I do take what you're saying on board, but yeah, I suppose our consultees have identified a need. I haven't been disclosed how they've worked out that specific need.
Okay, Sam would like to come in on that as well.
Hello, although I'm Highways and still Suffolk County Council, I do believe that it was after Storm Eustace, or whichever one it was, that there was the storm, damaged the building. It's, at the moment, you just can't have the children in there, so that's why it was closed through the storm. And of course, it's only a prefab, so they want to create a new state-of-the-art school for the children.
Thank you very much. Councillor Carruthers.
Thank you. My question relates to that. I was just wondering when the preschool closed. How long ago did it close? Roughly, do we know?
Thank you, Councillor. I believe that was 2022.
But are we correct in saying it wasn't previously used as a preschool, as a nursery? It was part of the primary school? Is that correct?
Thank you, Chair. I think it was previously used as I think the original building was there cited as a extension to the primary school, and I think that then changed it previously into being used as a preschool.
Thank you. I think we've got that. Okay, any further questions, please? Councillor Davis.
I read the paper that Tutum Consulting put out. Now, my gut reaction is, if everyone piles in to pick up their kids from school, there's a big peak in traffic. But this is talking about staggered drop-off and pick-up times. Can you explain what you think the percentage in reduction would be by having these staggered times? Because if you say, 100% of people are picking it up, then what's the estimated percentage of people picking up for each of these staggered drop-off times and pick-up times?
Thank you, Councillor. The staggered, just repeat, you wanted to know, sorry.
Right.
Chair, I distracted Ms Harvey by asking her a question on something else, so it's my fault, not hers. Yeah.
If you have one single pick-up and drop-off time, there'll be 100% of parents picking up and dropping off. If you have multiple staggered pick-up and drop-off times, what percentage reduction do you think you'll get from that 100%? Because if there is a reduction, then the impact of the teachers, the people parking, should be less.
I can only go by, thank you, Councillor, I can only go by experience of other places where there is a preschool and a school that I've witnessed, where they, very often the preschool start time is same, but their pick-up times are sometimes at lunchtime, and it is changes through. Because I did have an email from our early learning team where she's, and can I quote what she said? Probably aware daycare is likely to have traffic at different times to the school busy times as parents drop off and pick up at different intervals. They are setting, which is good to encourage people to use their bikes and walk too. So they are stating there that they know that there will be different times that they pick up and drop off as to compared to the school time. So the percentage, it will be throughout the day, it wouldn't necessarily be all at the same time.
Thank you very much. Okay, any further questions on this application? Lovely. Okay, thank you. Right, we'll move to public speakers. So we have a number of speakers. Derek Robinson, representing the Parish Council. Sue Lawrence speaking as an objector. We have the applicant, Hayley Ahern, and agent Craig Weston. And as ward member, Councillor John Ward. So it's a full bench today. So if you're a public speaker, you have 3 minutes in which to state your case. We have a timer. And if you're willing, members may have questions to ask on what you've said. I hope that's all right. And then Councillor Ward, because he's a councillor, he'll get 5 minutes. Okay. So, Derek, are you ready to start? Okay, here we go. Yes, right-hand button, please. Thank you.
Right, yeah. You may have covered some of the stuff, so I'll skip some of the background stuff. The primary school has reported that actually 58% of their students already are out of the catchment area. I was surprised to hear there's been no reports of traffic because, frankly, the situation has been chaotic for many years as a result of the high percentage of out-of-area parents, obviously, and also local families dropping off on their way to work. There's been no actions proposed to reduce the problem. The school does ask parents to minimise their car usage, but with nearly 60% out of area, existing staff even have to park off-site. And at times, we've counted up to 90 cars parked over verges, driveways, and double parked. The parish council feel this development is being imposed upon the village for the benefit of other communities in Suffolk, and possibly in Essex, as it's going to be privately managed. Parking spaces outlined in the plan will be inadequate, even for the staff, let alone another 42 child places. There are some misleading assertions in the document. Firstly, buses. Although there seem to be a lot of buses, not really many are at a reasonable time for parents dropping off at school. In fact, there's only one from the Colchester area at 8:25 in the morning. Section 614 of the document says the service is adequate, but not for preschool, I would suggest. In addition, what's been glossed over, the walk from the bus stop involves a renowned danger spot outside the old King's Arms on a blind bend on a narrow road with no pavement. So to say there is adequate access is rather skipping over the important aspect. There is an existing private preschool in the village, and there's a high danger of this closing as a result of this, in which case 38 places would be lost, giving a net increase of just 5 in this new venture, but all concentrated in the one location. And it should be highlighted an almost identical application was refused as recently as December last on the grounds of highways impact, which has not really been resolved. The parish council feel a better use of the school grounds would be to provide parking for staff and a drop-off point for parents for the current school. The need for nursery places nationally is acknowledged, but really local demand for nursery places is not proven, and more must be done to alleviate the current traffic and parking situation before attracting more. The parish council would like to object strongly to this proposal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. You've come in under time, which is very impressive. Thank you. Are you happy to take questions from members, if there are any? Are there any questions from members? Councillor Beer, Councillor Carruthers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question to you was that you said you weren't satisfied with the highways responses. They hadn't answered all the queries. So my question to you is that, what do you think they've left out? Because bearing in mind, we do all know that all schools have these traffic problems and parking problems. However much we try and solve them, we're never going to be able to solve them entirely. But you've said they haven't addressed all the issues. I'd like to know what they were. Thank you.
Yes, well, a couple of extra parking spaces for the staff is not really the solution to another 40-odd places going. And so it's rather cosmetic.
Councillor Carruthers?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I was just wondering, there's another preschool facility in the village. Did this coexist with the one on the school site in the past? I mean, were they both operating together in the past? Thank you.
Yes, they were, but the current one in the building to be demolished had lack of demand, to be honest, and whether that was a result of poor facilities, I'm not sure of the details for that, but yes, they were running together.
Can I just clarify that the other one, I think, has got 37 places, and the new one on the school site will be 42. Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much. Are we all done there? Okay, good. So our next public speaker is Sue Lawrence, who's speaking as an objector. You have your 3 minutes now.
The village already has capacity for 37 preschool children. We have less than 10. Contrary to the Children and Young People's statement, this is not a much needed provision in the village. 53 vehicles drive primary school children to school. A majority of the 42 additional preschool children will also be driven, causing mayhem and contravening the national planning framework. The applicant no longer has a construction permit. They uploaded new site plans invalidating prior approval. Independent schools do not have to adhere to catchment policies. The applicant's admission policy is a first-come, first-served basis, so may not even serve the village or indeed Suffolk. A travel plan should offer a genuine choice of travel modes. Strickmere has a good pavement network, the rest of the village doesn't. Suffolk County Council provide free secondary school transport due to lack of pavements. The proposed walking route from the King's Arm bus stop necessitates walking on a narrow blind bend with no pavement. No safe cycling routes for young children exist. Bus timetables will result in waiting an hour to return home or 2 hours to continue the journey. Despite highway objection on safety grounds, a SEND school has also been approved, subject to a travel assessment once opened. This hasn't happened yet. Combined traffic for both facilities would increase daily village vehicular activity by 35%. Parking has reached saturation point, with roadside parking throughout the village causing bottlenecks, congestion and obstructing emergency services. This application would double existing issues around the school, where children are seen exiting cars directly onto the road and pedestrians walk on lawns due to obstructed pavements. Primary school staff and visitors already park on Strickmere due to insufficient on-site parking, as will the preschool. This will add to congestion and lead to more disruption at school collection time and events days, preventing residents from receiving visitors, deliveries and impeding emergency vehicles. No on-site drop-off or turnaround facility has ever existed. Legally, 9 staff are required, not 5. 14 parking spaces are required, not 8. Acoustic assessment fails to acknowledge twice as many children in a smaller outside footprint. No attempt to conserve heat, doors open directly into classrooms. No EV provision for able-bodied. The application is for a preschool. The proposed wraparound service for older children should be a separate application along with additional parking. 32 reported accidents occurred during the 10 years to 24, not 3. There were 3 accidents last month. Part-time staff will require 2 parking spaces to enable handover. Photographic evidence of safety concerns have been submitted. If this preschool opens, there's going to be 256 pupils within a village with a population of 754, and there'll be 75 staff on top of these, making a total of 331 extra.
Sue, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to stop you. You have gone over time. Thank you very much.
Thank you for allowing it.
Not at all. Are you happy to take questions if there are any?
Absolutely.
Okay, members, are there any questions, please? Councillor Beer?
Yes, just a quick one. You referred to 14 spaces required,
yes,
not 8, and another figure you said, which I didn't get down quickly enough.
Okay.
But where did you get those figures from?
So for preschool, it's 1 to 4 for pupils. So that's 11 pupils. So that's 11 for the 1 to 4. 1 to 4, it will be 11 spaces for 42 pupil, and then you need an additional 1 to 20 for visitor spaces, so that's an additional 3. So that's your 11 plus 3, which equals 14 spaces. They're providing 8, of which 1 is disabled, and I don't know whether they provide for disabled staff, in which case it will be 7 staff parking on the road.
Okay, has that answered your question, Councillor Beer? Okay, I think...
So at your discretion.
Yes, I think the figures can be questioned, I think, the figures that you've given, so we might come back to that in debate, I think. Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Carruthers.
Thank you. I was just wondering, do you know, is there anywhere else in the village where there could be a car park, where parents could leave the car and then walk? It's just a thought. I know that happens in Hintlesham, near Hadley, so...
Currently, there is really minimal provision. Where the current preschool is, they have off-site parking and they use a facility which they pay for within the village. So that is no longer available. Parents could park. They're already parking on blind bends. They're obstructing corners coming out of roads. There is no additional facility within the village.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll move on to the applicant, Hayley. So you've got 3 minutes as well.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Hayley and I'm the Group Manager of Constable Country Childcare. I'm here to explain why the charity is seeking to re-establish the preschool provision at Stratford St Mary Primary School and why the Plan A proposal before you represents the most responsible, sustainable and community-minded option. Constable Country Childcare is a long-standing Christian ethos-based not-for-profit organisation. We work closely with local authorities to deliver affordable childcare, nursery and wraparound care across the region. Over the years, demand for childcare has increased sharply, and our organisation has grown to meet that need. We now operate 5 settings supporting hundreds of families, and we wish to reinvest our charity reserves directly into local communities. The former ABC nursery approached us when they were closing. Their hope was that we would simply take over the modular building and continue as before. That remains our plan B, but this is not a solution that meets the long-term need of the village, the school, or the wider childcare system. The national shortage of childcare places is well documented, and we see the effects daily. Across our current settings, 200 children access nursery places and 180 use wraparound care. Of those nursery children, 60 travel from as far as Colchester, Ipswich, Dedham, Capel, Radham, Langham and Hindlesham. This is not because families want to travel, it's because their local provision is insignificant. Stratford St Mary once played a vital role in meeting that need, and reinstating this provision here is not optional, but it is necessary. This brings us to the proposals before you. Plan A is proposed a purpose-built, environmentally responsible, long-lasting facility with significant off-road parking, bike storage and improved refuse arrangements. It is designed to reduce the on-street parking, minimise visual impact and provide shared benefits to the primary school. It is a forward-looking investment that addresses both current and future demand. By contrast, we could simply refurbish and replace the existing modular building. It would not address parking pressures, sustainability or long-term suitability of the site. It would reinstall the preschool, but without any of the improvements that make it more manageable for residents and more beneficial for the school. In planning terms, it will be a short-term fix that fails to mitigate necessary issues. We recognise that no community welcomes additional traffic or activity near their homes, but it's important to note that the ABC nursery operated here for many years. It was an outstanding preschool, and traffic levels will simply return to what the village has already experienced under Plan B. The difference is that Plan A actively reduces the impact through off-road parking and better site management than what Plan B can deliver. Our charity exists to reinvest in the community, and Plan A allows us to exactly do that. It provides a modern, sustainable facility. It supports the primary school. It meets a clear and growing childcare need, and it does that in a way that is more considerate to residents than the previous position. We respectfully ask that the committee to consider the long-term benefit, to reduce the impact, the essential role that the provision plays for local families. Plan A is the most ethical, sustainable and community-focused option available. I would just like to say that we do have a separate drop-off times which would help, not a problem with the landscaping, and that the preschool, I think, closed in 2022 because the management were leaving, and they did ask us at that time just to take it over. It wasn't that they didn't have enough children to remain viable. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. Lovely. Any questions, please? Councillor Grandin?
Can I just clarify what I think I heard in your report, that either way, whether you get planning permission today or not, you will be operating as a preschool anyway. Is that correct?
That is what Suffolk County Council would like us to do, because there is a need, and there currently are 8 children that can't access provision through places. And also we have heard, as you will have seen on the planning application, that people can come to us with their funding and pay nothing else. The other preschool in the village doesn't allow that, so therefore some parents could not afford to use that facility. And we are a charity, and that is what we will remain. We want to put it on. And we're also really hoping to be able to support the school. We're going to help the school with their parking. We're going to help the school by putting in fencing that they will need, that we'll pay for, and we're also going to help them fire retard their oil tanks. So there's a lot that the school will benefit from as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Davis?
Thank you. Just a couple. Could you remind me how many children's places were there in the old school? And
I think it's difficult to say how many there were. I think to answer the question clearly, I think they had 30, but it is different because they didn't always use the full allocation of the building, because it is a very big building. So, I think if we were to open it, depending on the age of the children, because the size of the building and how many places you can have depends on space.
So basically more children in the new school.
There would be but there would be event that basically, when we say about it being suspendable and for future demand, we're not assuming that we'll have that full straight away, because that's not the truth, but it does allow for over the years for more children to attend should there be a need.
Okay, I have a follow-up. You said one thing. I wondered if you could expand on it. You said that you would help the school with parking. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, the thing is, so when we first opened, there's no way that we will have the amount of staff that has maybe been mentioned, because it does depend on the age of children, how many staff you need. It's not a sort of one size fits all. So where we're going to put the parking spaces, that the school will be able to use them as well.
Okay, so you're only talking about teachers parking. You're not talking about...
Oh, no, just teachers. Yeah, just
the
children
staff coming to school and being dropped off.
No, there'll be no parking for parents, no.
Have you got any thoughts about how you might manage that situation with parents drop-off?
Well, it is very different in a nursery, because if there is demand for it, we will open at 7:30. If not, we'll open at 8, depending on what parents want, because this will be very much led by what people want. The same as the wraparound care, it does come under one provision, but if the school's wraparound care is currently enough for the village and there is no need for it, we won't offer wraparound care. But if we can support the school by them maybe possibly running something that's not affordable, then that's what we'll do. We very much want to work closely with the school, and the school very much do want us to do this. And we're also going to have their school dinners, which will help them with some of their costs. And I think the biggest thing to remember here is we are going back into a site that has been there and was successful, was outstanding. And we don't really want to refurbish the current building. We do want to put a really nice new building on there that is nicer for people who work there, nicer for children, nicer to look at, and sustainable. But if we do have to redo the current one, then we can do that, and we have got prices for both. I think that one of the other questions was the money for this to be. We have got the money to do this provision.
Okay, thank you very much. That's clear. All done? Okay, are we all done there? Super. Moving on, that's what I'm tempted to call the main event. Ward member, Councillor John Ward. Is it not 5?
I'm sorry, Chair, you've already done it.
I'm happy to give Councillor Ward 5 if you think he needs it. Are you ready, Councillor Ward?
I'm ready, yes.
Here we go.
Thank you, Chair. The main event, I thought that'd be the debate. But anyway, preschool demand is expanding everywhere, but this particular application has significant problems and would have a huge adverse impact on residents, being constrained within the residential Strickmere estate. The main concerns with this application concern access, parking and traffic management. There are a number of errors in and concerns with the Tewton Consulting Transport Statement. Paragraph 2.24 states that there is potential for a large proportion of trips to the day nursery to be made on foot. Yes, there are some good pedestrian links and some local residents will use them. Not all will, and neither will those coming from outside the village, who would make up the majority of users. The suggestion in paragraphs 2.14 to 2.17 that the local bus service could be used is fanciful, particularly given that the data presented overstates the service. A simple check of the timetable shows that the 93 service has 7 journeys a day, not 5 an hour. 93A has 1 a day, not 3, and the X93 has 1 a day, not 5. I'm unclear about the use of the Suffolk guidance for parking in paragraphs 3.6 to 3.13. Paragraph 3.7 mentions 5 staff members, and this is repeated elsewhere. The application form says that there will be 6 full-time and 5 part-time staff, 8.5 full-time equivalents. So how many is it? How many parking spaces really must be provided? Paragraph 3.11 talks about 32 wraparound children, not the 42 places that the preschool will be designed to cater for. In any event, the numbers presented in its paragraphs simply don't add up. The complete lack of on-site drop-off and pick-up places is unacceptable. There appears to be no mention of the minimum 1 space for powered 2-wheeler vehicle storage, which the guidance requires. Paragraph 4.4 asserts that the additional trips generated by this facility are not expected to give rise to any material capacity or road safety issues during the peak periods. Suffolk County Council Highways have commented that there will be no intensification of traffic from the previous preschool use and no severe impact. Both the report and Highways only seem to look at the impact on the surrounding road network and not the adjacent residential roads. They also only look at the extra traffic estimated for the preschool. There has been no analysis of the current traffic movements for the primary school, which is a serious omission as this has increased. The additional vehicles for the preschool will have a considerable impact on these roads. They also take no account of the new SEND facility that will soon be opening in the village. The cumulative impact of these must be assessed. The limitations and inadequacies of the proposed site notwithstanding, Stratford St Mary is not the right village for this. The Children's and Young People's Services response to the application talks about much needed early years provision in the village and substantial local need. There is no data to support these assertions, unless by local need they mean including neighbouring villages in Suffolk and North Essex. And as you have heard, there is already a preschool in Stratford that more than meets local demand. The demand in Stratford is limited, and most of the children will come from other villages, principally East Babergh. The existing Constable Country childcare preschool is oversubscribed there, and the owners naturally want another facility. However, a site within East Babergh should be sought so that the demand can be satisfied locally. There is a site already allocated in application DC 22-02093. Assuming this application is granted, this site would be the perfect location. The original refused application contains a planning statement that says that Constable Country childcare would have government funding via Suffolk County Council, but that this would only be available for projects that can be operational by the 31st of March 2026. The current application is silent on this. So do they have sufficient funding to complete the project? Even if permission is granted today, work would not be able to commence until the school summer holidays. So in conclusion, I do not agree that the applicant has addressed any of the previous reasons for refusal. The photos you have seen don't really show how constrained the site is and don't show the existing parking problems caused by the school. The parking provision in this application is totally inadequate, and there's so much confusion over the numbers. There will be further pressure on the residential roads that are already suffering. You need to visit to see it. There is simply no space to accommodate additional parent and staff parking. The estimated vehicle movements will have a serious impact on top of the traffic for the other 3 schools in the village, and the assumptions about trips are almost certainly an underestimate, given that most of the children will be driven from outside Stratford St Mary. Residents from outside the village have no realistic option other than the car, and the limited bus service is not an option. The Suffolk County Council application will expire at the end of next year, so it cannot be seen as a long-term permission. And finally, with the growing demand in Stratford and neighbouring villages due to new housing development, there will be no ability for the primary school to expand in the future, as the only spare land would be taken up by this application. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. I think I just need to remind members that we can only consider what's in this application. We're not allowed to consider what might be in other applications elsewhere, just what's in this application. Okay. Does anyone have questions for Councillor Ward, please? Councillor Davis, Councillor Wyman. Councillor Davis.
Thank you. Sorry, you rushed through that with loads and loads of numbers. So could you just replay the piece about need? I didn't quite grasp that.
Just, sorry, Councillor Davis, I'm just trying to find what specifically are you referring to?
Well, you mentioned that there wasn't enough need.
Local need, yeah. Yes, so in terms of the Children and Young People Services response, they're referring to much needed early years provision in the village and substantial local need. Well, you've heard from other representations that the existing preschool pretty much caters for the need in the village, and that much of the demand for this extra preschool facility will come from neighbouring villages in Suffolk and North Essex, particularly places like East Babergh and I would suggest Dedham, Capel St Mary, those sorts of parishes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wyman.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Ward, you made a reference to factual inaccuracies really between what your data holds and what Suffolk County Council are telling us at the present time. I asked a question earlier on to Suffolk County Council regarding cumulative impact of vehicles in relation to the existing school and the new preschool, which was answered in an affirmative tone. Can we understand what the issue is really, Chair? Could we ask Suffolk County Council to respond to Councillor Ward's points on factual inaccuracies?
Oh, yes, okay, yes, I'm happy to do that. That's all right. Right, can we have the question again, please, Councillor Wyman?
Councillor Ward referred to factual inaccuracies between the various points of policy, but also the way that we'd tested the traffic data and also the parking data. I asked a question of Suffolk County Council over cumulative impact, which they affirmed to be assessed. Councillor Ward has suggested that's not the case, so I'd like to know what the actual position is from Suffolk County Council.
Sorry, Councillor, thank you.
Sorry, sir. Could you respond to the points that Councillor Ward has raised, please?
Yes, apologies for... yes, thank you, Councillor. We can only go on data that we have within our customer complaints, etc., about parking, cumulative impact. What was there before? Was the nursery there before? Our customer complaints go back to 2015. In that time, we haven't received any, and there is a schools 20s plenty outside the school. It's a national way of doing traffic management around the school. We can only go on the data that we have. No accidents, apart from somebody mentioned there's been accidents there. We don't have any data on that because if it's not reported to the police, we don't have data. So we can only go from the information that we are given at the planning application and the information we have on our database, I'm afraid.
Thank you.
Just an aside, cumulative impact. We can use cumulative impact. There's a software that that can be used called Tricks. We can put the cumulative impact in. Admittedly, I didn't do that because it was an existing site that's existing preschool. I didn't go down ask the applicant to use the Tricks for that because it's a preschool that's there now.
Okay. Do you want to come back on that?
I'll need to say that clearly there could be inaccuracies then in our own data which relates to the application, which we don't, it's a fact, it's an unknown fact really. And from anecdotal data from Hindlesham, I know for a fact that there are far more incidents which allude to the point that the lady objector made over traffic accidents because they simply don't get reported.
Okay, I think that's more in debate than a question. Okay.
Sorry, Councillor. There was in the transport assessment, there was Tricks data in there, and it was, there was Tricks data in there that was sufficient for this application. I didn't go into too much detail in my response for it because it's an existing application. That's what I meant to say. Apologies.
Okay, thanks. So to clarify, the answer to Councillor Wyman's question is that cumulative impact data was used in the assessment, but perhaps inevitably different observers will record different data. I think that's the case. Are we okay? Right, anyone else? Councillor Beer.
Just on that last point, and the question to Councillor Ward is that you heard the response of the Highways view of how they measure it, but I'm assuming yours is as the local councillor and local knowledge and being aware of what's happening in that area, because obviously you know of accidents and problems that happen that don't get reported to the police. Is that correct? Thank you.
Yes, obviously there are things that don't get reported to the police, but I have witnessed and I've spoken to residents about the issues surrounding parking, which are significant, and the fact that we know that the primary school has increased, the numbers of parents using the primary school has increased, the parking problems have increased, perhaps since there was a last assessment made, and the SEND facility is going to add to the problems as well when it opens.
Okay, thank you. I think we're all done with questions there. I think we can move on to debate. So this is where you can express views, but please confine them to the application in hand. Do we have anyone who'd like to open the debate, please? Councillor Grandin.
Actually, is it possible to ask the officers another question, please?
Okay, go ahead, please.
Thank you. The applicant said that they would open a facility at the site with or without today being approved. Could you can you confirm, please, that they are able to do that?
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, they are able to do that. There is still valid planning permission with Suffolk County Council until the end of 2027. So if we didn't support the application today, they could very well open in the existing building with the existing arrangements without any permission from us needed.
Thank you for confirming that.
Okay, good. Thank you. Good clarity. Who would like to open the debate, please? Councillor Davis.
Everyone appreciates we need more preschool places. Parents have to have somewhere to put their kids so that they can go off and work. But with this one, we already know there is a lot of traffic around, and it's fairly obvious that there will be more traffic. I think staggered pick-up and drop-off points will alleviate it to some level, but I kind of question the Suffolk County Council's representative for transport, because we all know that most people do not complain about things. They'll whinge to their neighbour or somebody else in the street, but they don't actually physically put a complaint in. And when you see 88% of the comments on this application are objections in relation to traffic, then there is patently obviously a problem there already. And intuitively know if there's going to be more people, there will be more traffic impact. So that is not good. But I'm also not convinced particularly about the local need. There doesn't seem to be many people coming forward. There were 2 people within the comments that said yes, it would be good, and I think Councillor Ward mentioned 8. Someone along here mentioned about 8 local need. That doesn't strike me as sufficient justification to open that other school, especially when there's other facilities available as well. And no, that would be cumulative. So I'm not entirely comfortable with this application, but I'm not quite certain on what grounds we can put forward a refusal. Open to suggestions.
Okay, thank you. Just on a point of information, I think I just note that the Highways Department can only work on the data it can collect. And if people don't report accidents, then it won't have those data. That's not the Highway Department's fault, I don't think. That's because people haven't reported it. Okay.
But there is a gap between what
There's
they
clearly
say
a gap.
and
Yes.
what is happening on the ground.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Graham.
Thank you. I mean, it seems to me that as the applicant can open the preschool either way, whatever our decision today, I would prefer the children to have a nice, fresh, decent place to have their schooling, rather than what is in existence refurbed. Word was said of state-of-the-art facility. Well, they may as well have that, because rather than repairing a roof or whatever might happen if we do not give permission, it seems to me that this village has had a number of vehicles dropping off and picking up just not that long ago. I think it was 2022. So while it's not ideal, I think lots of places have situations where it's busy around schools and preschools at certain times of day, and it is inconvenient and a nuisance, and it does create more traffic and inconvenience for the residents, but it's for a short time, and it happens in every town and village, really, where there is an education facility. I don't think the local need is so much of an issue, because it's a charity, and I like the fact that they are offering places at a cheaper rate than the commercial. I think I understood it was a commercial facility in the same village, I think, whereby at least parents will have their costs covered by the government scheme, or hopefully, almost covered if it's not fully. That's their aim, if I understood it correctly. So I think there's quite a lot of advantages to us approving this application. And if you think fit, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to propose the granting the application if you think it's the right time for me to do that.
It is indeed. Thank you, Councillor Grandon, for your proposal to grant permission. We need a seconder for that proposal, please. Councillor Carruthers, thank you very much. So that's what's on the table, but we can continue to debate. Any further contributions, please? Councillor Beer, then Councillor Davis. Was your hand up, Councillor Wyman? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Am I right in thinking that because the highways have said this is okay, basically we can't offer up a reason for refusal on parking grounds and highways? Is that correct? Or what is the Ben's point?
I wouldn't put it like that. All I would say is that I agree that it would be very difficult to defend that ground for refusal on appeal. I mean, if you wanted to, I think I and Gemma and Adam would have to advise you to ask the authority to look at it again, or even, hate to say it, seek external advice. I mean, I'll let you add if you like.
Yeah, thank you. And, yeah, agreed. We're in a position where we've got technical advice from our consultees who are advising that it is acceptable and have looked at that. It doesn't mean you can't make that decision, but we'd have to look at, would we like to go back and ask them a specific question? Would we like county to review? Would we like to get our own independent external advice and consider whether they would defend that issue and reason that's been raised, and go from there, really? So that might be more of a deferral if members were minded to go there. So not a no, but certainly a risk, as Ian has outlined. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, is that clear, Councillor Bean?
I will leave the situation for the moment and see whether, when this goes to a vote, what the result will be, and then we perhaps may have to come back to it all. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Councillor Davis up next, followed by Councillor Wyman, then Councillor Carruthers.
Thank you. A couple of further thoughts popped into my head. As a general rule, we're trying to encourage the sustainable travel, but either the parish councillor or the objector mentioned the lack of a pavement on a blind bend from the bus, on the route from the bus stop to the school. Is it possible to put a condition in to say that we actually want that route improved so that it is safe for the children to walk from the bus stop, well, presumably with their parents, to the school, because that might, encourage more sustainable travel. And the other piece was, is it possible for some kind of communication mechanism to be set up so that the school works with the residents? So there's two-way communication between the two, so you know which parents are parking across driveways, the school deals with that, and hopefully the frustration over the parking situation is not alleviated, but is reduced somewhat.
Okay, thanks. So if I gathered the two questions, the first is about a footway from the bus stop to the site. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, is that something that we can talk? Can we talk about that? Can you respond to that rather, Gemma?
I might come and draw Sam in on this as well. It's a difficult one as to strictly the necessity and reasonableness of to why this development specifically requires that. And so we have got to look at reasonable and necessity in the remaining tests. So I don't know, Sam, is there a concern or?
Yeah, I would thank you, Councillor. I would suggest that there wouldn't be a test there for there to be a requirement to put in the footway there, because it is a narrow area where there is no footway. If county would have had an easy way to put it in, they would have put it in a long time ago. And I don't think it would be fair to ask the school or the preschool to be putting in the footway here at this location. It's a short section of no footway, admittedly, with I think it's a grade 2 listed building adjacent to it from memory. So I think it would be, I don't like to use the word unfair, but I don't think it would be, a test case, I don't think we'd be able to ask for that.
Okay, thank you. And the second question was about liaison between school and residents. I'm thinking not strictly a matter for the planning committee.
But it could be a condition that there is a plan for the school to work with residents over traffic issues.
We have done sort of community liaison agreements between developers and residents. Again, that was maybe a nod from Sam.
Yeah, it's a travel plan. We, County Council, have travel plan experts that help with schools, etc. Unfortunately, I bumped into the chap who was our travel plan coordinator, and he went yesterday before I was able to have a chat with him. It would be, I think, there may be something with the school existing at the moment, but I don't think really that it should be anything that on the preschool itself. I think a joint effort may be, but I don't think it's a preschool on its own for a travel plan. They have got one, they are putting one together, but whether or not there's a joint effort. Hope that answers it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I think the answer is it's in train, and the nursery could be included in it. Okay?
Will it specifically cover?
Do what?
Will it specifically cover liaison with the residents around parking issues?
I believe that's what a travel plan is. Yes. Okay, thank you. Councillor Wyman.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to talk briefly to the point that Councillor Davis made, which was around obviously the sustainability of this actual location, but more importantly, the fact that the ward councillor, the parish council and our objectors have come forward with compelling conversations around traffic management, traffic parking, etc. And also the gap between our recorded data and the data which seems to be evident on the ground. Councillor Beer alluded to the issues around schools, and I know he knows that it's very, very difficult. So to me, we need to be really, really sure we are making a sensible decision to put this forward for recommendation for approval. And so I understand the issues that we've talked about. I particularly understand the point that our legal counsel has made in relation to trying to find a reason to say no. But then again, if we do have a good reason to say no, we should try and use it. There seems to be obviously a compelling commercial demand for the location, because the site will need to be built, and I assume that will arrive at some not inconsiderable cost. It's put forward by a not-for-profit applicant, which again is good news. So there must be confidence that it's a commercial proposition. So I feel somewhat conflicted, but I do think we should pay proper consideration in regard to what the community are saying to us in relation to their data and what we have as our own recorded data.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Carruthers and then Councillor Grandin.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I seconded Councillor Grandin's suggestion, because I agree that the thing is that if there's going to be a nursery there anyway, then there's still going to be traffic. The traffic will be staggered. Sadly, as with everywhere else, it seems, most places in Suffolk, there is a complete lack of a bus service. It would be nice if there was a safe route to walk from the bus stop, but as I think the parish councillor said, there's only one bus a day at 8:25 that would be of any use anyway. I don't think there's any cycle lanes, but until that changes, every single, I think nearly every single planning application we look at, this is always an issue, because there just isn't any public transport. And I just hope that in the future this might improve. Is he all right? So the fact that Plan B is to reopen the existing building, surely it would be better to have a newer building, a more eco-friendly building, and provision for less well-off families. So, yes, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Councillor Grandon.
It's I'm reiterating really what Councillor Carruthers says. I feel that if by approving this today, we get a good scheme, and they can carry on anyway if we refuse, and it sounds like it's their intention to do so. So I feel this is a good enough scheme to proceed with. I think there are some what's the word? Where they have to comply. What's the word I'm looking for at the end? Obligations that they have to meet anyway throughout this application. So I think let's approve it so that we can at least give future children who use it a better scheme than what is there currently. Because, and also if we put highways and so on, as we've heard, as our objection reasons, we can, if it got taken further to appeal, we could well lose that.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Malvisi and Councillor Osborne.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sitting here actually a bit frustrated and annoyed because we seem to be, this committee is caught between a previously successful application and what we have in front of us. Now, what we have in front of us lacks clarity on just about every front. We're told by the parish council that 58% of pupils come from outside the catchment area. That's a sad reflection on the general situation. The lack of creativity in addressing the parking issues. You could have a drive-through. Parents arrive, they're in a queue, they drive, they drop off, they go. It's very successful in places with high density. So all in all, I find that I am not able to support this application today because I think there are too many unanswered questions and lack of data. Thank you, Chair.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Councillor Osborne next.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I've listened well to all the comments made, and Councillor Carruthers has absolutely hit it on the head here, that you won't get rid of traffic and parking by not having a good transport system, i.e. buses. That is the only way to stop that. We've done it on other applications, however, there doesn't seem to be, although it's on the conditions, and I see the conditions are well looked at, however, I'm not in a position really it's a very difficult one to think about and to actually vote on. The one thing that hasn't been mentioned is the heat pumps. They talk about the background noises which they give from just background during the night and during the day and during the during the day, during the night, and the one during the afternoon. I should expect that 45 dBA. I would say that I cannot see why you haven't got a series of heat pumps that they're suggesting they're going to use without a figure to them. And most of the refusals are based on 85 dBA. So there's a lot of movement between 50 dBA during the day and 85 during the day, which we don't know about. So that's unfortunate. I agree with Liz Malvasi. It is a difficult thing, and at the moment I'm caught between not wishing to go against some of the positions that the objections have come in, and the 30 objections to this, some of them are a little bit, I would say, design you can't do anything about, and as Councillor Beer has said, and spoken to our Suffolk County Council officer there, you can't do anything about it if they agree that the highways are sufficient. But anyway, I'll add up everything when I come to the vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just on air source heat pumps, and Adam can correct. Do you want to talk about that, Adam? Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor. So there is a condition proposed on the external plan. I realised I did miss a T of plant, so it currently reads external plan noise. So whether that misled you at all, I apologise. But yeah, so in the acoustic assessment, they basically quantified that with the proximity to the A12, any reasonable air source heat pumps to be installed would be a lower volume than the volume already experienced from noise from traffic. But we have proposed a condition requiring further detail of that air source heat pump before they were installed.
Yes, I know what you're saying, but this is background noise, and you must admit that any noise that's going to come on top of that during the day will come from that, but there is a proviso there that there must be 85 dBA within 3 metres, so you know, you're talking about the total background and the heat pumps themselves. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Davies, did you want to come back in, or have you had enough?
No, not yet. No, I don't want to come back in. Listen to everything. I don't think anyone's completely happy with this. I acknowledge the building is nice, you know, be better than before, but I think just to come to Councillor Grandon's point on they could reopen as is, I believe the applicant said the building wasn't in a fit state to reopen, so they can't. Is there a possibility of deferring this so we get an updated sort of travel plan transport assessment based on what the residents are saying to us? Because there seems to be this distinct gap.
Okay, so the constitutional position is that we have a proposal which has been seconded, so we must vote on that first. It would then be possible to take a vote on deferment afterwards, although that seems a bit nugatory to me. But because we have a proposal on the table, we must go to it. Which might be the moment to do so if everyone is finished. Shall we? Councillor Grandon?
May I mention just one thing, please, in reference to Councillor Davies? Just that I think the applicant said that the building would need refurbishment. So then, if they had to, they couldn't move in as it is. They would just have to refurb the current building, which obviously isn't the ideal situation. The ideal situation is the new building, but if they had to, they could just refurb the current, and they're nodding, the current buildings. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So the proposal on the table is to grant planning permission under the terms of this application, and we will conduct the vote now, please.
So thank you, Chair. Members, that vote is now in progress. Councillor Beer, can I take your vote verbally, please?
Against.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, to explain to our visitors today, because the traffic in Ipswich restricted my attendance this morning horrendously for the second time in a week. I am not allowed to vote because I was not at the beginning of the meeting.
That is
Apologies,
correct.
but it's down to the traffic.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. Well understood.
Thank you, Members Chair. That's 5 votes against and 3 votes for. Therefore, that has fallen.
Okay, thank you. So by 5 votes to 3, the application is refused.
No, it's not refused.
No, not refused, sorry. No?
The proposal has been, the proposal to approve has been rejected. So we now need a recommendation for either, or proposal for either a deferral or a refusal.
Okay. So the procedure is we now need a proposal either to defer the application in pursuit of further information, which has already been suggested, or a proposal to refuse the application. Would anyone like to take the lead on that, please? Councillor Osborne.
So I'd like to propose the deferment of this for further information and obviously to clarify areas where we are in a little bit of a tangle.
Okay, that seems very reasonable. Do we have a seconder for deferral, please? Councillor Wyman. Thank you very much. Just writing that down. So, go on.
Might I clarify? Thank you. So just checking that the proposal is to defer for further information. I put on highways data. Is that the area we're looking for? I'd also put to review parking arrangements, but sorry, I missed what the last clarification was on that request. If I could just confirm, that would be much appreciated.
Okay, Councillor Osborne, can you tell us exactly what it is you want clarified?
Well, the noise issues, to start with, which was one of their objections. A lot of the objections were for that. Also, to just understand a little bit more about why the area of parking and transport can be made a better situation by our Suffolk County Council.
Okay, so more detail.
Yeah, more detail.
Yes, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate what I said before. I think the highways people really need to, in this gathering of information, talk to the residents to get the up-to-date information. And I really feel it should take into account the cumulative impact of, you know, the other schools in the area. And I think you said there was one coming. Because we really should take into account what's likely to happen in the future. I'm sure we can model those projections.
Okay, I think that's clear.
Yeah, I think, Chair, I mean, I've suggested highways data to review parking arrangements and improvements and to clarify noise issues. So I think we can sweep that up within that, looking at the data, looking at what might happen in the future and to go into that in a bit more detail for you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Malvesi, did you want to contribute?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Better data. Exactly how many pupils are being attracted? What's the capacity of the school? What do they want to achieve? Numbers. We need numbers.
Okay, so you're requesting this from the applicant, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Beer?
Yes, I think we need to clarify whether we can get the additional park, and even if it's only for staff. I think that the footpath, that needs to be looked at because that's an important part of creating the safety walk to the school. I don't accept that nobody can actually solve that problem. Somewhere along the line there should be a party that will be involved in improving the footway. And there was a third point that I wanted to make, was that a lot was made that there can be staggered timing of, and I think that needs to be looked at and emphasised more as to what and how that would work, because that could have made the difference in some cases.
On a point of information, that is how nurseries work. They work on staggered timings of drop off and pick up. That's pretty universal.
Well, that is, but it didn't come over that it was really something that was laid down that it would happen. As though we were given the impression to start with they were all going to be there at the same time. It was only as we were discussing it.
No, I don't think that was the impression given, I'm afraid. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Can I ask you not to have a conversation in the middle of what we're trying to do here? Thank you. Right, can you, Gemma, please read out all the stuff that you've now got?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So what we're looking at is to defer for further information, including on highways data, to review parking arrangements and possible improvements, and to clarify noise issues, pupil numbers and capacity. I appreciate that's fairly loose, bearing in mind what's been asked, but we obviously have heard what members have had to say. We'll have the minutes to go into each of those, but just trying to summarise it in a fairly succinct manner, so I hope that captures everything.
No, that's fine, thank you. Councillor Osborne, are you happy with that?
Yes, I'm very happy with that. However, I would just like to ask that we have more comments on the conditions that have been placed on this. You know, I'm happy with it. However, the transport statement and the construction plan, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see more of that and see exactly where it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grandon.
May I ask a question, please, to our officers? Well, it's related to what we're doing. Thank you. May I ask the highways officer whether what is being requested is achievable and reasonable from official sources?
Yes, thank you, Councillor. I can, from the transport assessment that was supplied with the application, I can go into far more detail in my response if required, because it's a very good report come through from the transport assessor. I can come back about the safe route from the bus stops to the school. I can come back with that, very much so, from the data that I have. And I will also talk to the travel plan officer in the meantime. Thank you very much.
Okay, good. Right. Really, really want to get this voted on. I don't want any more chipping in. I think we've had enough. Okay? So, Councillor Osborne, are you happy with what Gemma's read out?
I am, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Carruthers as seconder. Sorry, Councillor Wyman as seconder, apologies. Are you happy with what's been read out?
Entirely happy, Chair.
Lovely. Can we please now vote to defer? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. That vote is in progress, members. Councillor Beer. Thank you. Thank you, members. Chair, that's 7 votes for and 1 abstention. Therefore, that is deferred. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That's clear, which is good news. And I'm sure we will all appreciate the additional information. Right, we have another item. Yeah, so what I'm proposing now, doesn't require a vote, is that we have a 5-minute break in order to allow people to leave who don't need to be here and for the rest of us to get a quick cup of coffee. So I'll see you again in 5 minutes. Thank you. Thank you and welcome back, everyone. We're now moving to item 8B, application DC 2504293, 13 Mill Green, Edwardstone. So I'll invite the case officer, Greg Monaghan, to introduce this application, please.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, councillors. This morning I have for you application DC 2504293 for a retrospective householder application for the retention of a 5-metre ultra-high frequency, or UHF, radio antenna mounted on the rear gable end of a semi-detached property in Mill Green, Edwardstone. The purpose of this presentation is to be consumed in supplement to the committee report you have previously been provided. It is not meant as a replacement. For transparency, an application of this type will usually be decided under delegated powers. However, as the application is made on council-owned land, as per the planning charter, it is a decision to be made at committee. Main planning issues to cover are residential amenity impact, landscape amenity impact, and any potential design considerations. Mapping shown on screen is the constraints map for the site. The bold brown line you see on screen is the designated settlement boundary for this part of Edwardstone. The application site is outlined in orange and hatched in pink. This aerial image shows the same area, again, orange outline with a pink hatch designating the application site. The next piece of mapping is supplied by the applicant as the site location boundary. The red line, once again, outlining the application site with a small red cross denoting the position of the antenna. The next piece of mapping is the same constraints map. However, there are now labels where the images are to be located, starting close to the particular dwelling, moving around and out towards the highway of the northwest boundary of the settlement. The item to be retained is a 5-metre fiberglass UHF radio antenna installed in September of 2025 using specific aerial brackets which are known as T and K brackets. The apparatus is rated to 90 miles an hour of wind resistance and features a built-in redundant coaxial cable in case of emergency. This image is taken from the amenity space directly adjacent to the gable end of the dwelling. The next image is taken from rear amenity space of the applicant dwelling, showing the relation to the attached neighbour of the semi-detached pair. Following image is taken from the highway immediately out front of the property and shows the distance between the neighbouring dwelling which is not attached. This image presents the dwelling as it appears as you travel down the highway or the footpath along the cul-de-sac of Mill Green. This image is taken from the T-junction with the road to the north, again, as it is presented as you view down the roadway. This image is taken from the roadway to the northwest, and you can maybe just about see the property and the antenna under the red dot. Moving on to a summary of representations, there were a totality of 2. One was considered an objection, and a second considered neutral. Both of these items cover roughly the same ideas, so I've combined them presently. The infrastructure is considered out of character with the area. Infrastructure of the area, as shown by the images, there is very similar genre of infrastructure. That includes overhead utility lines, also includes roof-mounted antenna, and in this specific instance, a ground-mounted base station located some 60 metres to the northwest. The mapping in front of you, the purple locator shows the application site. The red locator shows the position of another ground-mounted aerial which has been there since 1985 and has valid permission. The following images show that antenna in situ. Here we see from the roadway adjacent the antenna there between an existing pylon and what I believe is a flagpole, now currently disused. And the image after that shows it from the highway relative to the wider context. Again, barely visible in the distance there. Our second representation speaks that the design antenna is overbearing and dominating and will negatively impact the landscape. The design is deliberately slimline and unobstructive and features no additional head apparatus. This utilitarian design is to minimize visual bulk against the existing built context and wider visual amenity. The third theme of our representations speaks to the residential amenity harm through electronic interference and unnecessary wind noise. Our colleagues at Environmental Health were consulted as part of the application and returned a comment of no objection. The apparatus is not to think to provide any additional wind noise in comparison to the infrastructure already present. In terms of electronic interference, any operator of such equipment must be licensed and registered with the Office of Communications in the UK. This licensing and registration minimize or reduce or restricts the number of frequencies in which operators can use, thereby minimizing the impact on other users of these radio frequencies. This includes electronics. Therefore, the recommendation to this committee is to grant planning permission subject to relative conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Greg. Very clear as ever. Are there any questions from members on the content of the report, please? Councillor Grandon first and Councillor Maybury.
Thank you. I've got two short questions. What is this antennae used for? And you mentioned in your report just now about licensing. Is this user licensed?
Thank you, Councillor. So the specifics for this piece of equipment are hobbyist or amateur, related to radio communication, and yes, the applicant is licensed in this way.
Thank you. Councillor Maybury.
Thank you. That answers some of my questions. Thank you, Councillor Grandon. There was a question about noise, or a comment about noise. That's my first question. Could you explain how much noise there is with these type of things? Because I'm a layperson, I don't really know. Is that to do with wind speed or just generally?
No, valid question. Thank you, Councillor. So the question, the noise relates to the actual infrastructure and the wind around it. So in relation, in a similar way that telephone lines would wobble and they would pronounce a noise, or aerials wobble and they have like a background noise, that's the implication that this was speaking to. So it's not necessarily the equipment itself gives out a noise, like a background hum, it's just that it would dangle like a washing line would in the wind.
Okay, do you have another question?
I have one more, if I may, at the moment. Slide 9, you made a comment, I may have misheard, that you said it was collapsible. What does that mean?
No, this is not a collapsible antenna. Apologies if I don't think I mentioned that, but this is a standalone piece of antenna that's mounted to the wall. It doesn't collapse in any way.
You might have heard the word coaxial, which is...
Well, there we go. I said I may have misheard.
Yeah,
okay.
That's something different.
If you could explain that, that would be good. Thank you.
Yes, my apologies, Councillor. So the coaxial cable is a secondary, a redundancy, if you like, that should anything fall off, this cable then mounts it to the side of the dwelling and it doesn't go any further from the dwelling.
Like a safety light. That is really helpful.
Like a safety
Thank
light.
you.
My apologies, Councillor.
Thank you.
Yeah, like a safety rope. Great, thank you. Any other questions to Greg, please? All good? Okay, so we can go straight on to our public speaker, of which we have one, who is the applicant, Roger Simons. So you get your usual 3 minutes, Roger, so please press the right-hand button and go ahead.
I won't keep you too long because it's not a long one. Back in September, I decided to put up an antenna for my radio hobby. After being informed over the phone that I did not need planning permission, I contacted the council to request permission, which was granted. A few weeks later, I was then informed that I did indeed need planning permission, and planning was applied for. I passed my first exam from the Radio Society of Great Britain in September 2024, and my next level exam in May 2025, and I am fully licensed by Ofcom. I adhere to all laws and restrictions outlined by Ofcom. I suffer from a mental illness and I have a heart condition, so my social life is very restricted. Amateur radio brings me joy as I get to speak to people all over the country and indeed the rest of the world. I also attend a club meet once a month in Great Cornard, which I really enjoy. Amateur radio not only brings me a lot of joy and pleasure, but also in a national state of emergency, amateur radio operators are called upon by RayNet to convey and receive messages to Category 1 and Category 2 responders. In the 7 months my antenna has been in situ, I have not received one complaint from anybody, including neighbours and Ofcom, of any interference being caused. And if it were to be the case, I would remedy it right away, as obviously Ofcom does not allow it. I've put a lot of work into my hobby and I enjoy it immensely. If I get denied permission, it would take that all away from me. I'm willing to answer any questions you may have on this matter, and my case relays with you.
Thank you very much. Admirably concise. Are there any questions to Roger, please? Councillor Maybury.
Thank you. Thank you very much for attending this morning and for explaining why you enjoy your hobby, which is really useful and helpful to us. Thank you. My question to you is, we see that locally, or in the locale, we have another ground-mounted one. Why did you not do that, please?
The height would be the same, so I would need planning permission whether I put it on a pole in the garden or on the side of the house. The height would be the same.
May I go back, Chairman? Thank you. So really, that it makes no difference, and for you, that was where you wanted it to go.
I could only get an installer to install it there. I couldn't get an installer to put a pole in the middle of my lawn.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions to Roger, please? Super. So we can go, thank you very much, Roger. We can go straight on to debate. Councillor Beer to open, please.
Well, Mr. Chairman, looking at the photographs, the only unsightly bits of all that was the telegraph poles in the pictures. You can hardly see this, so I will move recommendation of the propose the recommendation, Mr. Chairman. There's nothing to debate about it at all.
Thank you. Is that a formal proposal, Councillor Beer? Thank you very much. So Councillor Beer proposes to grant permission. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Davis. Thank you very much. So on the table is a proposal to grant. Does anybody have any further contributions to debate, please? Good. Okay, in which case, I think we can go straight to the vote. Okay, so the proposal is to grant permission as per the application, and Claire will conduct that vote.
Thank you, members. That vote is ready. Councillor Beer.
Approve.
Councillor Malvesi, would you like me to take yours verbally? Would you like me to take yours verbally? Yep. Oh, it's just come through. Thank you. Thank you, Members Chair. That's 9 votes for. That's carried.
Hooray. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. That concludes today's business. The next meeting of the Planning Committee is on Wednesday, the 18th of March, when we do have items on the agenda. I will see you then at 10 o'clock, and I'll close today's meeting at 12:16 p.m. Thank you very much, everyone.